It's 2022, an average weekday. I get off work and I go to a cafe to work on a few side projects. As I'm sitting in the cafe, it starts to storm. My first thought was to leave and to complete the work once I arrive at my home, but I didn't. I continued to work. I watched the storm worsen and then decided to travel home in the worst possible conditions. I got into my vehicle and paused. Once again, there was a nudge to wait, sit there and allow the storm to pass. And once again, I didn't. I started driving home, and the storm got even worse the closer I got to my home. The wiper blades did no justice as the rain was so heavy that the road was barely visible. I was literally down the street from my home when a vehicle pulled out in front of me. I hit the brakes, but the road conditions threw my car into a head on collision with another vehicle. My airbag deployed, and the car stopped. Firefighters arrived, and I walked away with a few burns from the airbag. My vehicle was totaled. Bystanders approached my car panicking and asking if I were all right. I was actually calm. I was more stressed about not arriving home to check on my son and how he had no clue of my whereabouts.
I started to not bring this experience back up, but it happened. So, anyway, I started working at a hotel as night auditor, and sometimes I would work during the day, implementing professionalism as usual. The hotel owner appointed what I understood at that time to be my supervisor to train me. We actually connected quite well as far as communication. We shared similar interests, and we both possessed a robust sense of humor. This made the training more enjoyable and allowed the time spent at work to be a breeze. However, we got along so well that our conversations extended to phone calls outside of work hours, discussing likes and dislikes, agreeing and disagreeing. This developed into lunch dates and a lot more conversation. Everything seemed interesting and normal, typical interactions when you meet someone and become friends. Then he started talking about marriage, and I'm thinking, whoa, Nelly, it's only been like 3 or 4 months, but he wouldn't let up from consistently bringing it up. My spidey senses said, don't do it, but I didn't listen. We got married 5 months later, moved into a new apartment, and then the gates of hell opened wide. Deception, arguments, more deception, untruths, more arguments, a few good times, but very few. I always felt the energies of too many others. Not good. Oh, and then I realized I married the playa from the Himalayas, and this is only about 11% that I'm disclosing. So, yeah, we divorced and that chapter closed. I can truly say lots of growth came from it.
I'm having a phone conversation with my mother. Normally, our conversations were uplifting. However, this particular day, she started the conversation off advising me to pay heed. She said that I needed to feed my sister with a long handle spoon. This was a phrase used by elders in the community in which often encouraged to maintain a distance from someone. That someone was my sister. But guess what? I already knew this since childhood, but I always expressed love towards her because she's a sibling. My mother became more frustrated during our conversation, and her final words were, "Stay clear. She is your enemy." I told my mother that I appreciated the advice, but as I said, I already knew that. My mother passed away 3 years later, and my sister proved my mother's words and my knowing to be facts. Around 2013 or so, I often used the Facebook platform to stay in touch with past high school and college friends. From time to time, I would often create and support new friendships. One friend was an aspiring rap artist in his local area. We shared a few mutual friends on the platform, so we became familiar with one another. I often supported his music career, and we exchanged positive encouragements and aspirations. The energy was good and appreciated. One day, I chatted him and he didn't respond. I didn't think much about it until 3 weeks passed. Then I became concerned. I continued to reach out to him, but there was no response. It was not like him at all. At almost 4 weeks, his mother posted on his page, stating that she was thankful for friends and family during the support of her son's passing. I was instantly flabbergasted. I was devastated. hoping that she was referring to another son. But no, it was him. I checked his local news and he had been robbed and unalived in Brooklyn while leaving his friend's apartment. I was overwhelmed with emotions. I've never been that devastated over the death of someone I've never met. The connection was platonic, but it was solid. I still often think of him. For a while, I asked myself if there was something I could have said to help him avoid that situation, but honestly, there wasn't.
I'm in my senior year of high school, and it's mid year. I'm sitting in my AP English class talking to my teacher. I've always taken an interest in writing, whether poetry or short stories, so she recommends that I enter the CSRA Classic Scholarship Essay Competition. She gave me the details on the topics. I took it home and got started. I honestly didn't enter to win. I entered because I enjoyed writing. The next day, I submitted the draft and the final to my teacher. A month later, she announced that I won second place. I actually had forgotten about the competition. The exciting part of it was that it was a competition that covered the entire CSRA, in which meant the central Savannah River area in Georgia. At my graduation, I was honored to accept the reward. I still couldn't grasp the fact that I won. I was summoned to the senator's administrative office. The senator hand delivered it to me. I felt esteemed. I'm 17 years old, and it's the summer before my senior year of high school. I've traveled to the New England states to visit family, and we're at a family reunion in Hartford, Connecticut. I'm talking to my elder aunt, but vaguely observed another teenager sitting behind me. Yes, there was someone else there that was my age. I was sure we could relate in some way. Sitting with my elders for hours and listening to the Platters album collection can be depressing for a 17-year-old. I took the opportunity to walk to the bathroom in order to greet the other young person I spotted at the reunion. He was friendly, and we had been thinking the same thing, but my elders did not like that. Me speaking with a boy at that reunion was absolutely forbidden. On the way back home, my elder cousin, a nun from the Bronx, even chimed in to chastise. When you research the word strict in the dictionary, there should be a photo of my elders. Sheesh. My kid's father and I were together for about 9.5 or 10 years. I'll round down and say 9. Anyway, we would often visit our favorite Mexican restaurant on weekends for the wonderful food and overall experience. We even had a favorite waiter, Javier, always serving our table and always over delivering a superb experience. We actually became friends with Javier. He explained how he moved from Los Angeles to start a new chapter, a chapter away from the previous gang culture that he grew to embrace when he was in Los Angeles. He and my kid's father were into souped up cars, and Javier owned a classic El Camino that was sure eye candy. He had participated in a few car shows on the West Coast. He was just happy to be in a more positive environment. One night, my kid's father told me that Javier went back to Los Angeles to visit family. During his short time there, he was unalived. I literally had no words. We were both devastated by the loss. We had grown close to him, his presence was enjoyed, and the loss of him was felt. Although, I've lost several people that I've grown close to, and even loved. Each time it happened, it changed something within me. So it's 2016, and I started rideshare driving night hours after my 9 to 5 job. One night, I get a male passenger who seemed to be overly interested in me and why I chose to drive at night. I understood his curiosity, but it was most convenient for me at that time. Then he started being a little weird, intruding my personal space, telling me stories of his experiences in prison, and then he said he had close friends who preyed on women. And he said this casually. I asked him to sit back. At this point, we were at his designation. He frustratingly stormed out of the car. Good riddance.